Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me here. This is probably my first voiceover type tutorial for this kind of thing. Anyway, I found some fabric and I'm just going through all my stuff right now. And I got a new iron from Amazon that I'm unpacking, checking out. And I also got an ironing mat, kissing my baby. And we're getting ready for sewing. He's doing some counting. So this is a fabric I got, and it's an I Love Lucy panel, and I'm cutting out 4 squares of this panel, and that will be the pockets in the front. Here I am using bias tape, and that is to finish the edges of the pocket. So I am finishing up the top part of the pocket, and the pocket is going to be a large pocket. It's going to be, I believe I calculated out to be about 14 inches. It's a 14-inch square. So that whole 14 inches is going to be one pocket, and then I am going to add 2 more pockets to the bottom of it. So now I'm just trimming off the leftover pieces from my bias tape, and I am attaching the 2 smaller pockets to the bottom of the big panel pocket. And what I did here, if you can see, I attached the bottom, and then I put a center stitching line right in between the 2 pockets, because I wanted to have 2 separate smaller pockets, one for my cell phone and I don't know, for whatever else I want to put in my pockets. And now I'm attaching the side seams of the smaller pockets to the panel, and then I will finish off the edges. Another quick tip I'd like to give you is when you're finishing off a pocket and going to be attaching it to another garment, I highly recommend you use bias tape because it reduces the bulk and it makes it a lot easier to sew onto the main fabric. So if you've noticed, I am touching the sewing machine quite a bit, and this is a Janome machine, and it's a computerized sewing machine. So I don't have the pedal, the foot pedal attached to it. So I'm just using it, the tabletop and the buttons. And I love this machine so much. It automatically, it has an automatic cutter, and it's very easy to thread. It's my baby. So anyways, so that's what I'm doing, if you're wondering why I keep messing around with the controls. So what happened here was, because of the thickness, it's starting to get thicker as you sew. So I accidentally broke my thread because my tension was too tight. And you got to remember to adjust your tension and your stitch length when you get more bulk. The more you layer fabrics, the thicker it is. So you need more length, and you need to make sure that your tension isn't too tight, which it was. So it broke my thread, and I just quickly rethreaded, and away I go. Okay, I am struggling with this bias tape, and if you don't know what bias tape is, it is a piece of fabric that is folded and pressed 3 times. I think three folds. Yeah, there's 3 folds in it, and it's folded lengthwise, and then you unfold it, sew one side to the edge of your fabric, and then you wrap the other side around it, and then sew it again to encase the seams. Now, it's really tricky to work with when you have a small, I think this was only like 1/4 of an inch bias tape. So next time I'm gonna make sure I pick up a larger one. So you can get them like 1/2 an inch bias tape and like 1 inch, etc. You don't need to go too big because it really is to finish up the seam. So, but definitely more than 1/4 of an inch if you're going to be stacking fabric like this. Okay, so what I did here, I put the pocket on, and right now I'm starting in the middle where the small pocket is. I'm starting in the middle of the pocket and then sewing out towards the edge. And then I leave the needle in, lift up my foot, my sewing foot, and then turn it and then go up the other edge. Now, the reason why I did this is because I am a lazy pinner. I don't like to pin things to my fabric, and to make sure that it stays center, I want to anchor it. And usually it'd be really easy just to anchor it with a pin, but I didn't want it to shift because it is the centerpiece, and the main fabric that I have has lines on it, so I didn't want it to be all wonky and then, you know, be distracting. So I started in the middle of the pocket and sewed that to tack it in, and then finished up that side, and then took it around to the other side and finished up the pocket. We are entering the final stages of our apron, and I am just doing a finish seam on the edges of the main fabric of the apron. So what I did though is I start on the sides, so I finish up the seams on the left side and the right side, and then I do the bottom. And the reason being is because when you fold the seams down, it left a little bit of like a little ear, like a little point, because it's a corner, right? Like I made the apron kind of like an A line kind of shape. So when you fold over and you finish up the side seams, it leaves a little bit of a tail. So I did the both sides first, and then to hide those tails and to make it a cleaner finish, I tucked the tails in and then sewed the bottom of the apron. Hope that made sense. Now a word about the pattern of this apron. I just copied this from an apron I already have. Now, I'm a doll maker, so the reason why I'm making this is because I needed a new apron for painting. I do have an apron for my hair rooting, but that has to stay completely in another room or it's gonna get hair all over my paints. So my alternative was to buy another apron. Then I found this fabric, and here we are. So yeah, so what I did was I took the old apron that I have, or my hair apron, and then I traced the outline, the V-neck and everything, and the shape overall. I made it a little bit longer. And I really like the V-neck part because it doesn't have that extra bit of bulk in the front. So when I'm using my hands and working on stuff, naturally if you use a scoop neck shirt or something, like it'll bulk up in the front. So this V shape really helps with relieving that bulkiness, and that, because I do have that great big pocket in the front, so the last thing I wanted was to add more bulk to it. So that's how I created this apron. For the straps of the dress, I found some dusty rose, pink, and white with white polka dot fabric. I cut them into 3-inch strips, 4 of them, folded them, and attached them for the neck and the waist. And here is the finished project, and I hope you enjoyed.